And welcome to another Colin Crandall MMA interview. You guys know me from MMA Power Hour for many years. Also recently UF Combat MMA Professor. That is who I am as well. And I am so happy to have a super knowledgeable MMA, coach, trainer, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a friend of mine, Mr. Justin Adams. He is also training partner and manager of the awesome Kevin Holland. And man, I am telling you, I got to throw out some love for that great performance by Kevin. Was it about 3 weeks ago now? I think it is.
So.
Yeah. And
I think
yeah,
so.
let us know what your thoughts were going into that fight and then how it played out as opposed to what you guys might have been expecting.
Well, here's the fun part of what's behind the scenes. We were in the back, and we were in the locker room with Islam and Khabib and everyone, and there were a lot of bearded guys back there, similar looking, like those dolls that come out, like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And one sat down, and he was sitting on a chair backwards like this, and the cut man came in to wrap, and he started massaging his hands, and he starts wrapping his hands, and Khabib starts filming it. And the guy gets almost all the way through one hand wrap before he looks at him close, and Islam walks up and he goes, "Well, you're not Islam." And the guy said, "No," and Khabib's dying laughing. So
wrapping the wrong guy's hands. Go ahead.
So we're dying laughing at that. And then they call us to go out, and we're walking out in great moods and everything. They said, "You got a mouthpiece?" And Kevin goes, "Cowboy, find my mouthpiece."
Oh.
Right. So if you notice, like, we're dumping everything. If you notice in the walkout, he like goes to take his shirt off and he stalls taking it off. That's because I wasn't back with a mouthpiece yet. We couldn't find it anymore.
Oh no.
And so he was just buying time. So I dig in one of the other cornerman's jacket pockets, and it was in there.
Nice.
And I handed it to him, and that's where Kev, you hear him when he hugs me before he walked in the cage, he's laughing, and he said, "I can't believe we sent the blind guy to find that."
Right.
And that's so funny. He steps in, it was a lot in a short period of time there. I mean, he stepped in, we'd worked the whole camp going, Bob Perez, striking genius. We were talking out there. I think Bob's probably responsible for more KOs in the UFC than any other coach.
I believe it.
And he had Kev going opposite of the power hand all through camp. And then we got in there, and Michal was doing a good job cutting that angle. And man, when Kev, I give him all the credit. He stopped. He had told Herb he didn't want to break that boy's arm. Herb said, "Go for it." So, pardon me, I was really proud of him. He did great. Got a lot of Trump love.
Nice.
Nice. Trump was all about it. Dana loved it. I mean, shit, he did great. It's amazing what that kid can pull off with a non-ranked opponent. He probably climbed higher in people's eyes than any of these ranked wins. So I'm proud of him. We're looking at there's a couple tempting ones. It's like I'm pushing. I'd love to see a Chris Weidman fight.
Nice.
Then also though, there's there's an unfinished D-Rod business, and I think we're going to stay at 185. The way I understand it, D-Rod's fighting Kelvin at 185 this weekend.
Right.
And it'd be nice to have Kevin versus D-Rod on that Noche card at the Spear. Finally get that fight under the belt.
That would be cool. That would definitely be cool. Love to see it, and really happy, man. You guys work so hard, and Kevin has not ever been done really any favors in the UFC. Everyone's been a killer pretty much. And, I'm just glad that that came through. And at 185, he looked very comfortable, a lot happier. And so that's awesome. And how soon do you think we might see him back in action? Next month, maybe, or a little bit later than that?
If we do the D-Rod fight at, on the Noche card, I think that's September.
Yeah.
That's a wait. We'd like to fight 2 more times this year. So if we do September and then something in December, it'd be fine. But if we could get the Weidman fight and he wanted to fight in August or something like that, I'd be all right.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that. That would be interesting for sure.
Right?
It would be. It would definitely be an interesting matchup. I'd like to see that. Both good guys. All right, let's jump in this card. Guys, forgive me for watching a little allergies here. It seems like a lot of crap's in the air, so I'll try not to sniffle too much. Let's start with an undercard fight here. Rinat Fakhretdinov against Nicholas Dalby. Dalby is such a tough dude. I picked Dalby to win that last fight against Gabriel Bonfim. I didn't have all the confidence in the world because I know that Ben Bonfim could possibly have just got him out of there, but he had looked so good even at 39 years old. The Dane, the man from Denmark, the Danish fighter, Nicholas Dalby, Danish Dynamite, is a double tough, rugged, hard guy. That's one thing I think some people miss when they see guys that are 38, 39, 40, and the fighter going against them is 28, 29. They don't realize that these older guys are really rugged, hard men. They just been through it, and they really haven't necessarily lost any power, just maybe a little bit of reflex. But if you get into where it's a bunch of dirty boxing and grappling and grinding, like a lot of times these guys that are, closer to your age than 25, end up being just too hard, rugged, tough guys for these youngsters. And a lot of people don't see it, but I definitely, it doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise you, right?
Dalby's tough, man. I think his only loss in the UFC so far has been to Tim Means.
I think,
And he's
yep.
just one of the, it's like that, he's got to win. And he broke D-Rod's kind of unbeaten in the UFC streak, if I remember. And,
Yep.
and then this win over Gabriel Bonfim. Bonfim's tough, and he came out house of fire, but Dalby just kind of maintained his composure, stayed durable, ended up,
grinding
turning
out
when the fatigue set in. That's a tough fight because I don't know how you say his name,
Rinat Fakhretdinov in this fight. Yes, Rinat Fakhretdinov. Yeah, this is a battle.
You be careful saying that too fast.
Huh? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Fakhretdinov. So that's when you're angry, you say Fakhretdinov. But he's double tough.
Oh, he was on what, like a 20 fight win streak or something like that. 19
yes.
Fights.
He lost his second pro MMA fight, and he's won 20 in a row. The last fight was a majority draw though against Alezu Zaleski dos Santos, who is a very tough fighter. And
he's another guy like Nicholas Dalby that's so underrated, and I mean he's got wins over some absolute studs. He slept Strickland.
Yep, beat Brian Battle. Yep, and Kevin Lee, and a bunch of tough guys. Only 4 fights in the UFC, but he's 3 wins and 1 one draw rather. So I'm curious to see what the odds are here because I think that should be pretty close. Let me just take a look real quick and see where we are on that. And then we'll move on to the next one here in essence of time. And wow, they've got Fakhretdinov a 3-1 favorite.
Wow.
I think that's an overlay. I mean, I think Fakhretdinov looks like a killer, and in all honesty, at 39, any day now, Dalby could lose a step. But if he hasn't, if it's the same Dalby that we saw stop Bonfim, which was just it was about 9 months ago, 8 months ago, then I think he's got a shot. I think there's value on Dalby. I think that that I probably wouldn't get to the betting window on this because there's no money to be made on Rinat. I think Dalby's got a chance, but on paper, probably the younger man should win this. But I think Dalby's live much more than a 3-1 dog. What do you think?
I think you're dead on. I think Rinat will pull it off, but Dalby's definitely needs to get some credit for what all he's put together. That guy's a lot tougher than people realize.
Yeah,
I wouldn't 3-1 underdog by any means.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. All right. Next up, we're going to go to Nasrat Haqparast and Jared Flash Gordon. We'll do this one maybe in a couple minutes. Haqparast out of Morocco, he was fighting out of Kings. Looks like he's at TriStar, or he may go back and forth. I'm not sure, but he spent a good amount of time at Kings. You know what? I think he's been with TriStar for a little while now. 16-5, 10 KOs, no subs, but he's got a good finish rate. 28 years old, only still on the right side of 30, as they say. He's been kind of winning and losing in the UFC for a while, for about 7 years. A lot of fights. He lost to Marcin Held, remember the submission expert from Poland. He beat Mark Casey, Thibaut Guti, Joaquim Silva, lost to Drew Dover, beat Alex Munoz, Rafa Garcia, lost to Dan Hooker and Bobby Green, and now he's on a 3-fight win streak, beating John McDessie, Landon Quinones, and Jamie Malarkey. Last fight being December of last year. Jared Gordon, very tough fighter here, has had some unfortunate calls. Clearly, he beat Paddy Pimblett, but they didn't give it to him. He had a no contest against Bobby Green in his next fight, and then last November did beat the Olympian Mark O. Madsen. So again, this again also, I believe, should be pretty close in the odds, and let's see where they are. And they've got Hack Parast about a 2-1 favorite. Oh man, this is so tough to call. This is another interesting one for me. I'll go first. I think Flat Gordon is 35, and this is a lightweight division. He's 5'9". Hack Press is 28, 5'10". I mean, Hack Press has got 63% finish rate. And what's Gordon's finish rate? Gordon's finish rate is gonna be, where is it here? Gordon's finish rate is 45% finish rate, but he does have some subs. I think this is going to be a close fight. It's so tough to call. I think there's some value in Gordon. Probably Hack Parast wins this if forced to say, but again, I wouldn't, have a lot of confidence. What do you think?
I mean, Hack Pressed, what do they call him? Mini Calvin.
Yes.
Calvin Gastelum?
Yes. Yep. Looks just like him. His hair, his face does it. Yeah.
We were actually, Terrence, we got offered that fight at one point. And I think Terrence ended up getting hurt and we had to change our plans, but you can't count that guy out. He hit the ball, and he's very, very clean on the feet. Jared Gordon's just kind of one of those, he's one of those guys that's under the radar, but he's like he's one of these blue collar kind of fighters where he just seems to just kind of not be an expert, amazing over the top at one particular thing, but he's super passable and good at everything. That being said, I think you have to be really good to get Nasrat to the ground. And once he's there, you're in fine shape. But that's an undertaking, and I don't think he's going to get it done. I think Nasrat definitely wins the decision. I don't think he'll stop Jared because Jared's durable as it gets. But yeah, I'd put money on Nasrat. That's a safe bet.
Yep, and by decision, that's a good prop bet too. All right, appreciate it. Let's move on, and we're going to skip Sharabutin Magomedov. He's a tough guy. He's got only one UFC fight under his belt, and to save time, I mean, he looks like he's a killer. Antonio Tricoli is a short notice replacement, so I am going to bet Sharabutin is again like a 6-1 favorite. Let's see, but we don't even have to break this one down. I think not enough people know or care about this, and there's a Shara. Yeah, 6-1, 5.5-1 favorite. So he probably wins, but who knows? Let's move on to Johnny Walker, Volkan Oezdemir. I almost feel like these guys have fought before, doesn't it? Almost feel like because they've both been fighting the same guys pretty much, right? So Johnny Walker is 32 years old, 6'5". Some people even say 6'6". Light heavyweight at 205, out of Brazil, training out of SBG Ireland under John Donahue, I think. And then he's got a record of 21-8, 16 KOs or TKOs and 3 subs. So that is a 90% finish rate. When Walker beats you, he usually finishes you. However, his last fight, he did get stopped by Magomed Ankalaev. Before that, he had a draw with Ankalaev. He was on a 3-fight win streak before that, beating Anthony Smith, Paul Craig, and Ewan Kutalaba. Before that, losing to Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos. Other wins and losses colored his resume before that. Volkan Oezdemir is the 34-year-old from Switzerland with a record of 19-7 and 14 finishes, 74% finish rate. Both guys are definitely finishers. His last win was against the lookalike to Lionheart Smith, Bogdan Guskov. And then Bogdan won his next fight. But he submitted, but he's been win and lose a lot lately. In fact, he started out his UFC career with 3 straight wins, beating OSP, Misha Serkinov, and Jimmy Manuwa. Then he lost 3 in a row to Cormier, Lionheart Smith, Dominic Reyes, beat Ilir Latifi and Alexander Rakic, lost to Jerry Prahovska, Magomed Ankalaev, beat Paul Craig, lost to Nikita Krylov, beat Bogdan Guskov. So this also should be pretty close, although it seems like there's more life left in Walker, and the odds makers, I would imagine, see that barely. This is almost a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the length, I mean, we've got 6'5" or 6'6" versus 6'1". Height's not everything, obviously, in fighting, but I don't know. I feel like Walker should be a bigger favorite here, although getting smashed coming off a loss, usually you're not a favorite at all, whereas the other guy's coming off a win. But I don't know. I feel like if things don't go really in a precisely positive manner in an Uzdemir fight, that he ends up losing. Again, I wouldn't make it to the betting window on this, but I think as a nearly a pick 'em, I think Johnny Walker's got value. Just my thoughts, maybe a finish. What do you think?
I think so. The thing with Johnny, he's huge, right? Johnny's a big guy. And Volkan's not. I think Johnny's going to have a size advantage, probably a reach advantage. I haven't checked
Definitely.
out, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing the
Yeah.
way he strikes is problematic for Volkan. And you can do the win and loss in their last fight, but Johnny lost to Magomedov, where Volkan beat
Bogdan Guskov. Yeah. The Anthony Smith
So I
lookalike.
think
Sorry.
those are two. I think
Different levels.
losing to Ankalaev is. I mean, that's going to happen to. Oh, that's a top 3 in the division guy. I got to err towards Johnny Walker. He's going to be more creative, and as long as Johnny doesn't get caught, he is a wild striker. And if he doesn't get caught on the chin, he's fine. He'll win the decision. Volkan's not gonna, in my opinion, he's not gonna wrestle him. He's not gonna be able to compete with the striking for long. And while he's tough, I think he's gonna probably get shut down, probably late in the third.
Nice. I could see that, and I think so too. I think Johnny inside the distance is a good bet by finish. Let's skip Mohammadjan Naimov and Felipe Lima and go to, it's funny, Haqparast and Gastelum are on the same card, the lookalikes, and they trained together for years. So it's funny. So I have a feeling at least one of them will win. They both won't lose, but probably both win. But we'll see. This is an interesting matchup. Kelvin is Kelvin. We know Kelvin. Kelvin Gastelum back at 185, and just, man, colored with red later in his career, colored with green early in his career. It just seems like he's such an in-betweener, man. If there was a 175 weight class, which they've actually allowed MMA organizations to implement as of like 10 years ago, and no one's done it. Maybe Habib's done it, but if there was a 175 weight class, I think that's where Gastelum would have been all along, because 70 is a hard cut for him, and he's a small 85er, but still. So a lot of stuff lately. He just looked really flat against Sean Brady. He looked good against Chris Curtis. Go ahead.
I had see, I think we were on the card where he beat Chris Curtis. I think we were on both these last cards with him, if I remember right. Or we've been on a couple of them with him, or maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been around him plenty enough, and we chat, text back and forth sometimes, and he feel like he's a dense little human. I see why 170 is tough for him, but he's so small framed for 85.
Yeah.
And he's getting to an age where it's going to be really hard to alter his body type much.
Yeah.
I think he's going to probably stick to 85. But this is a must-win scenario. What is he's let me just take a quick look here. I think he's
bunch of losses, like 2-6 in his last 8.
Last 8, yeah. I mean, that's tough. And he's fought. They did him dirty. As soon as he came in at a young age, they threw him to the wolves.
Yeah.
He's been doing well with it for a long time, but the miles gotta add up at some point. And D-Rod, on the other hand, it's like, and D-Rod's a tough out. He I've had a couple friends that did fight him. We've Kevin and I were talking about him last night. And he's he's one of those guys that will fight him and it'll be fun, but he's a nice guy. Like when we got into it with Mayoff and Darren Till and everybody that weekend, we were supposed to fight D-Rod, and he was right there in the mix of the whole thing with us, figuring out if we were going to have to beat up a bunch of Mayoff wannabes, and nice. Darren Till.
That's cool.
But no, I like D-Rod. D-Rod's a good dude.
He's a good dude. I've interviewed him a few times too. Very nice guy.
I like both these guys. Like Kelvin, like I said, Kelvin's the only guy with worse ears than me that I've met so far.
I love it. That's awesome. That grappler's ears, man.
I'm fingers crossed for Kelvin. I hope it works, but I think it'd be great to fight D-Rod on the no-J card for Kev. So I'm gonna say D-Rod wins this one.
Nice. D-Rod is a dog, about 2-1 dog in this fight. Yeah, I mean, D-Rod is such a tough guy. What's going on with him lately? He did have tough losses to Neil Magny and Ian Gary. No shame in that. Before that, he was on a good 4-fight win streak. His last fight was 13 months ago, and he's the 37-year-old. It's funny, you would have thought Gastelum was older because, Gastelum's been in the UFC like probably 4, 5, 6 years longer than D-Rod. But people forget Gastelum got in when he won the Tough House at like 18, I think
Yeah,
he
he's a
was.
baby.
Or yeah, he really younger, 19. Yeah, this one's a tough one, man. Both really good guys. I'm gonna go for D-Rod also with value on the dog bet, and not a tremendous amount of confidence, but yeah, get a lot of pressure on both of them here. But D-Rod coming off 2 losses definitely doesn't want to have that third in a row, because this might be a loser go home fight, as they used to say in pro wrestling, right? And so hope not. I don't want to ever see anyone losing their job, especially fighters that have worked so hard to get where they are. But anyway, so yeah, D-Rod with you there, and we'll see what happens. Then we come to, if this computer lets me down, I'm going to be so good, and it didn't. Sergey Pavlovich against Alexander Volkov. This is an interesting fight. Pavlovich was on this killer streak of 6 wins and 6 finishes, and every one of them was in the first round. And then he gets finished in the first round by Tom Aspinall. I did have a weird feeling that was coming, not with a tremendous amount of confidence, but I was one of the people that picked Aspinall. Anyway, this is the first fight since then. This is November of last year. So December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 7 months ago. And going to be interesting to see what he has here coming back from his first loss in 6 years. He had a loss to Alistair Overeem in his first UFC fight. No shame in that. Alistair still had something left in 2018. Alexander Volkov will be a countryman of his from Russia. Drago is 35 years old, 6'7". Some people even say 6'8". And he's coming off 3 wins against Jairzinho, Biggie Boy Rosenstrike, Alexander Romanov, and Tai Tuivasa, all by finish. Man, this is an interesting matchup, because the more technical striker is going to be Volkov. It's going to be Volkov for sure. But Pavlovich is younger. Let me see, 32. And I think Volkov is going to be, 37? Let's see, Volkov is 35. So, man, this is a rough one. This one, it better be pretty even in the odds. Let me take a look here. No, it really isn't. They really have Pavlovich just over a 2-1 favorite.
Yeah.
You know what? Pavlovich is going to be angry. He is going to be angry after being made to, be the nail instead of the hammer in his last fight. I get that. But man, what's his name is so unorthodox. The other thing also is that the coaching is going to be rendered useless, because the coaches yell out in Russian. Both fighters will know, what's happening. What happens in a case like that, do you think? And you've been to so many fights with Kevin and other fighters in their corner. What are the judges? Does one of the judges who can, not judges, does one of the cornermen who can speak English but would normally speak Russian just decide, all right, I'm going to yell instructions in English, because the other guy might not really understand it? Or that would make sense, wouldn't it?
You have dudes where they both only speak English, fight all the time, and
that's true. Yeah, they said so. Yeah, I guess no advantage like it used to be, though, when they've got a non-Russian speaking opponent. Yeah.
Well, during the COVID era, for sure, it's like we could hear everything the other coaches were saying, and there were times that we would, kind of go back and forth against what the other coach had to say, and we've been in trouble at fights for, I was at an amateur fight a while back, and for my team, and one of my assistant coach, his God-given name is Austin Powers.
Nice. That's fantastic.
Austin Powers was listening to the other coach's coach, and he just stopped. It was pretty quiet in there, and he yelled, "That's horrible advice. That's terrible coaching over there." And I was dying laughing, and it turned into, after the fight, a big scuffle, and could have been a whole thing. But hey, we can razz the other side just as much as
yeah,
fighters razz.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
I don't see it being a big deal. I think Pavlovich is going to step in. he's huge. And both these guys are big,
Yeah.
but Sergey's just a big human. Like he's got massive
Thick, yeah,
hands.
big, powerful guy.
Volkov's taller and kind of lankier, but they both fought Derek Lewis, and I think Volkov, when you do catch him, Derek slept him. I think Pavlovich is going to do the same. He's just gonna find the chin eventually. I would like to see the reach difference between the two.
It'd be interesting to see. I don't know where I'd see that. Is it on Tapology or something maybe?
Yeah, it'll be on Tapology.
Yeah, let me see if I can see that. Pavlovich. Let me see. Let me just do Volkov, Alexander Volkov, Tapology. You got it?
I got it here.
Okay.
Pavlovich is 84 inches.
Wow.
That's absurd. And then Volkov,
80. It says 80. That's weird for 6'7" or 6'8". I guess he doesn't have big shoulders. Is that weird? He's got 4-inch shorter reach than Pavlovich, although that's 2 inches on each arm, which is not significant, but something. Huh?
Yeah, that's 6'7" versus what is Pavlovich? Probably 6'4", 6'3".
6'3". Yeah. That's weird. He's got bigger shoulders, longer arms. Wow. So he's got the reach.
Sergey will touch him. He'll catch him.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Sergey probably inside the distance. And finally, the main event of the evening, rescheduled. Robert the Reaper Whittaker was supposed to go up against Chimaev. Now he's got Ikram Aliskerov. Give me a minute or 30 seconds of your thought of how the Whittaker Chimaev fight might have gone down.
Man, I was curious. Chimaev's gas tank's not there. It's like when Kev fought him on that short notice fight, he said he could feel his arms trembling and he was starting to struggle with the grip strength towards the end of that first, exchange in the first couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Usman kind of took over in the later rounds because of fatigue. There's a lot of question marks on his cardio health, and especially with all of his sicknesses and everything he's going through. I think that's going to be the chink in that guy's armor, is the ability to fight the way he fights for an entire 5-round fight. Whittaker, that guy's been through the gauntlet. They made him fight every tough middleweight they could come up with on his way to the belt, and then gave him Yoel Romero again right after. It's just rude. That guy's been through the ringer. He got Duplessis, but he came back and he looked solid in his last one. Ikram is a tough challenge. I think that this is kind of this may be a tougher fight than what Chimaev would have been, just because the unknowns that come with Ikram and the fact that I don't think he has the same gas tank concerns.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Whittaker is a slight favorite, about 1.5 to 1. This is short notice for Ikram, but a lot of these guys, these guys from Dagestan, are in incredible shape all the time. That's all they do is train and eat and sleep. They're coming off a whole bunch of good wins. In the UFC, only 2, though. He did stop Phil Hawes in the first and Worley Alves in the first. I certainly don't think he's going to be stopping Whittaker in the first, although anything is possible. So what do they have again? Slight favorite is going to be Whittaker. I mean, I'm a big Whittaker fan. I've always liked Whittaker. They're about the same age. Maybe is Whittaker slightly older? No, he's younger. No, yes, he is. Wow, 33. It seemed like Whittaker was in his 20s for the longest time, but he's 33 now, 6 foot even at 185 with a record of 25-7, 14 finishes, 9 KOs and 5 subs. Ikram is the younger man at 31, 15-1 with 11 finishes, 6 KOs, 5 subs. And this is an interesting fight. Yeah, this is a very interesting fight. I'm going Whittaker. I think this is going to be a competitive fight. I think it'll go the distance. 5 rounds, though, is a lot. It's funny, Ikram lost to Hamza, but it was 5 full years ago, and Ikram was only 26 years old, and I think he's got to be better than he was then, I would bet for sure. And yeah, this is, I'm going to go with Whittaker probably just because of my heart, but this is a tough fight. I think that the more experienced fighter at a high level, though, for sure, is Whittaker, and he's got twice the amount of fights. I don't know if you think that means much, but I'd be curious to see. Do you think having twice the amount of fights and having fought in a lot more high-profile, tough guys does give Whittaker any advantage or no? And which way would you play this one?
I think it's additional wear and tear on everything. If you look, Ikram didn't have a lot of fights on his resume, but he's been dealing out a lot of finishes. I don't think he's gone to decision more than 4 or 5 times in the 16 fights. So he doesn't have a whole lot of cage time, but he hasn't needed to. It looks to me like he is, because of the threat of the takedown, he's able to open up with the striking a little bit more. And I think that Robert's got a little bit more wear and tear on him. I think we're going to see a coming out party for Ikram. I think he's going to get it done.
You could be good. Inside a distance? For a 5-round fight.
On a 5-round fight, I want to favor Rob because he's one of the toughest humans alive, but I think that he's going to get him down and finish him. I hate to say it, I think Rob's better days are behind him. You saw what Dreykus did to him. I expect something similar.
Yeah, it could be right. You could very well be right. And that would definitely put Ikram on Matt. Well, we've got 2 minutes left here. So let us know, is there anyone else you're working with? I know you got some great people at Travis Lutter. You got Terrence, anything coming up for Terrence?
Terrence, we're going to take a little time off, maybe do some grappling, some things like that, and let him that was a tough one. I wasn't with him on that last fight. I had him the 2 before,
Yep.
the 3 before.
Yep.
But I'm excited to have him around, see what he can, pull together and kind of rest his body a little.
Absolutely.
Kev, we stay busy all the time, and then working down back and forth. I have Travis Lutter's son, Jordan Lutter, will be fighting second amateur fight into July. And it's so fun to watch him. He's like watching his dad in his in his fighting prime, just the same style, same movement.
Nice. Awesome.
Working with Bob's great. Bob's got a ton of guys that are really making the moves that are doing well and right on the cusp of the UFC or getting in. And heck, man, we're having fun. It's a great time to be in our spot right now.
Absolutely. And Travis Lutter MMA is located where in Dallas? No.
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
West Fort Worth. Yep.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Kevin Holland's there. Justin Adams, Travis Lutter, black belt. Thank you so much for jumping on here and chopping it up with me. Always a pleasure to chat with you, brother. I really appreciate you.
We'll do it again soon. Just let me know when, and heck, we'll squeeze them in.
I really appreciate it, man. Always great to talk to you. Keep up all the great work you're doing. Have a great night, brother. Take care.
Thanks,
and
Don.
you got it, Justin. Thanks again. Everyone else, we'll see you next time. Peace.